Uh, Coral Best, how the hell are you?
Whoops, there we go. Hi. Hello. I'm great. Hey,
I
thanks for
cannot,
having me.
I cannot even remember the last time I saw you IRL in real life. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay, man. I've been watching, so definitely watch you do comedy at the Invisible Disabilities Show, and we'll circle back to that because you were an inspiration to me. But we'll come back to that. But lately, you're still being an inspiration to me because I am on uh, a better living journey, like a better lifestyle journey, and I love to cook, but I don't like to get like with me cooking like the less amount of ingredients the better. But your cooking just is like amazing, and I love seeing how much care and ingredients go into some of the stuff you cook. So maybe I'm jumping ahead too soon, but how are you? How long has this journey been going on for you about like this being active and cleaner eating? How long have you been doing that?
Okay, so first of all, it all kind of started in January of 2020 when my workplace started a Biggest Loser competition for money.
Ah,
This is obviously before quarantine hit, so we didn't really know. But the point is that the person who loses the most percent of their body weight wins money, and it costs money to be part of the competition. So it was a good amount of money. I thought this was a good chance for me to kind of like step up my fitness game. And I got third place. And the problem is that I've done this competition before in the past, and it didn't take me long to gain back all the weight that I lost. So,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not, if you work really hard to lose it, it's to maintain it is a whole nother ball game. And this time around, I told myself, you know what? I'm not going to gain the weight back. I'm going to continue on with my healthy eating and my exercise, which is easier said than done. But pretty much when quarantine started, when the competition ended, I started regularly exercising and cooking. And when it comes to cooking, I have to be completely honest, I don't use any recipes. So some things just don't turn out that well. But I love to just like try different things, just like throw some honey on there, some breadcrumbs. So I love using exotic spices. And then you just see what you get. As long as it's healthy, you can eat as much as you want of it, I tell myself, because 3 pieces of fish is better than one hamburger.
Oh
So
my gosh. I have to I tell myself stuff like that all the time because like just like one trip to McDonald's will ruin a day, right? But you could kind of eat a little bit more healthier food. Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel you on that. What did you enjoy cooking before all of this, or was cooking something you've always enjoyed?
I have always enjoyed cooking, but I mean, everybody enjoys having food delivered to them. Like, I'm a DoorDash addict. I mean, for an extra $5 to have somebody deliver it to you, it's like so worth it to me. And when you get home from work, starting to cook can be a little bit tedious. So it's fighting that urge of delayed gratification, of fighting instant gratification to delay gratification so that you can actually cook yourself something that you feel good about. I've always loved cooking, but it's really about the environment. Like, I used to live with roommates, and the kitchen was just not a very comfortable space.
Mm,
So like
yeah.
I cooked a lot less back then. Currently, um, I share an apartment with my family, and it's a lot nicer because whatever I'm cooking is for everybody, and whatever they're cooking is also for me. It's so much more welcoming.
So is everybody participating in like the clean eating, the healthier eating?
Kind of. My parents were both part of the competition too,
Okay.
so we kind of did all go on like this like diet, if you will, or this health journey together. They've had a much harder time maintaining since the competition ended. But yeah, when I make healthy food, it's for everyone. However, like for instance, last night I made fish over mushrooms, and my mom wasn't brought a bunch of ice cream for dessert, so we all ended up having a bunch of ice cream. It's kind of hard, like you need everyone to participate in order for it to work. I told my mom, like, please, please, please don't buy ice cream, or at least don't bring it near me, because
Uh-huh.
I'll just go to town on a pint of ice cream.
Ice cream is one of my weaknesses, and I've been searching and searching and searching for like a low sugar ice cream, and I finally found one at Trader Joe's. It's like a peanut butter chocolate, and
Okay.
it comes in a pint, and there's 3 servings in a pint, and each serving is 10 grams of sugar. So
Okay.
it's not horrible. It's not horrible at all. And if I can discipline myself to actually eat it over 3 servings and not just in one fell swoop, then I'm really happy about myself. And lately, yeah, I've been pretty good at eating only a serving and then putting it back up. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think I have solved the ice cream problem for now.
Oh, I haven't solved it, but I do know that when I serve myself in a bowl is a lot better than me eating out of the carton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I eat out of the carton, I have a really hard time stopping. I mean, I just see more ice cream, and I think, especially when there's goodies in the ice cream and you start digging
Oh,
for the
yeah.
chocolate bits, the cherries.
That's what this one has right now. Like this one has like little slices of peanut butter. And like when you see one, it kind of like you said, it like goes down into it. So then you start doing the whole treasure hunt for to find that whole slice of peanut butter. I'm def-
Exactly.
I'm definitely doing that. Um, so when you lost the initial weight, were you working out and dieting or dieting and or what was the combination?
I was actually dieting before I started working out because what I'm realizing, and I'm sure you've maybe heard this before, but the diet has a lot more to do with weight loss than exercise.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I started my journey December of 2018, and because like I was gonna do the gastric bypass surgery, but I love food too much to ever just like quit it, you know. And when you do the
Yeah.
gastric bypass, like it's like that takes some discipline, and I knew I didn't have that discipline,
Mm,
and I've since then like I've slowly lost weight, like just like a little bit, and I've had like these ebbs and flows, these peaks and valleys, but I've been keeping it off as of this morning since uh, Christmas of 2018, which is like roughly about a year and a half, right? I've lost like 76 pounds, but
wow. Okay, great.
I,
That's
I'm
wonderful.
I'm stoked about it. I'm so excited about it, and I haven't exercised any at all. Like
Yeah.
like I've stayed active like in the house. Like I get up more to take the dog out, but like I haven't like I joined a gym, but I never went. I did
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
But it's just been like getting good sleep, like making sure you get like 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. And I've cut out like bread. Like I really like I weigh myself every morning, and then I think about the day before, like if I gained point 0.2 or if I lost point 0.3 or just like whatever it is, like I assess like what brought me here this morning, and
Mm.
what always resulted in either an up or staying flat was bread. Like there's like no way I could eat bread. Like this just my body just keeps it. It just doesn't let it go. So bread has been like the one thing that I've definitely had to cut out. But I still and I do tons of beans. I do eggs every morning,
Okay.
um, and I drink a gallon of water every day. And I
Okay.
really think that's a real yeah. You said you already put a big dent in that. You just filled it up.
Yeah. I love water. Water makes you glow. Water helps everything flow better.
Yeah, take a drink right now. I'll take a drink with you. Where's my water? I have it here. What?
Cheers.
Cheers. What type? Go for it, and I'll ask you. What type of exercises did you start off doing, and what are you doing now?
Okay, so I'm pretty particular about my exercise. Like, I mean, I really have a hard time with like sit-ups, push-ups, and planks and stuff inside the house. I noticed that I love going outdoors. I love to move. So at first, I started by just jogging and a very little bit, like a quarter of a mile.
Oh wow, uh-huh.
Then I started jogging a half a mile, then 3 quarters, and then eventually I worked up to 1 mile, and I just kept it at 1 mile. I would just every other day or every 3 days, I would go and jog 1 mile, be super proud of myself. And then I started incorporating doing stairs because when it's really late out, I can't go jogging. Like it's not safe for me to go jogging at 10 p.m.
Yeah,
So I live in an apartment complex with 5 stories, and I thought to myself, like,
It's
why
right
don't I,
there.
yeah, why don't I just go up and down these stairs? Which is funny because I joke that never in my life have I ever even been at a staircase and thought, I should come back here, you know? Like, you just pass stairs. Usually when I see stairs, I'm like, what an inconvenience.
Yeah.
Right?
When I see stairs, I'm like, where's the elevator?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we have elevators, and it's funny because I exercise in the staircase a lot, and like I don't run into anyone. Like everyone at my apartment uses the elevator. Nobody uses the stairs. So I started doing stairs, and that was really fun because I get to listen to music. I get to be indoors, and it's 5 stories tall. So I do 5 stories, and then I run back down, and then I do 5 stories, and then I run back down. And usually my exercise will be like 30 stories.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 30 to 50 if I'm feeling it, like if I'm really in the groove.
Uh-huh. And do you like to exercise first thing in the morning, or do you do it in the afternoon, or
Um,
whenever your schedule permits it?
that's a tough one because for 1 week I was super motivated. I ran every day before work because my work wanted me to come in a little later.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that that was making me dread waking up.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I'd be rolling over in my bed, like, oh, I have to get up and go running. I do not want to get up and go running. So I moved it back to the afternoon because in the afternoon, it's almost like I'm dying to exercise. Like after getting off work, I'm like, I really want to do something for myself. I know a lot of people feel tired after work. It's really about just getting yourself out there. So coming home, putting on my running shoes, putting on my fanny pack, getting myself out to the park. And that's the hardest part. The hardest part is getting yourself there. Then starts the workout.
Uh-huh. Then you live in San Jose? Is that where you're based?
Yeah, I live in
Yeah.
South San Jose, right across the street from a park, which is where I kind of worked up to a mile. I just running around my park.
And it's like inviting to go out to that park, right? Like you see maybe the same handful of people every day. And have you met any people out there on the same journey that you are?
Yes, I see a lot of people working out. I recognize them depending on the time of day I'm working out. We don't really talk, but we give each other that acknowledgement, like head
Exactly.
nod, like I see you running, I'm running. Or there's a girl that I'm really impressed with that does jump rope, and there's like a bench at the park, and she goes up it and down it and up it and down it. She works really hard and she runs. And it's
Wow.
inspiring to be surrounded by people who are also taking care of their bodies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's kind of it's the same thing. Like if you're at a bar and you're around a bunch of people drinking, you're gonna drink. If you're like hanging out with a bunch of people that are just being down and out, then you're gonna be down and out. But like if you're at a park and you're watching all these other people exercise and you're taking part in that too, then it's gonna reflect on you, right?
Absolutely. And also a really important thing is sometimes I'm just not in the mood to work out. So what I'll do is I'll give myself like a minimal goal to meet, like go for a walk, and whether that walk is a mile or 2 or 3, the point is that I did something that day to move my body. The worst is not doing anything at all. Like even a walk with the dog, something.
I saw your
My
dog earlier. Your dog was right behind you earlier when you first logged in.
Yeah, she's still here.
Is she? She's camera shy? How long have you let introduce us, please?
This is my dog. Her name is Emmy, and she actually runs with me. I attach her to my hip with the leash,
Uh-huh.
and she runs with me, which is really nice because it's become like a bonding activity for us.
And does she enjoy it?
Yeah, I think she loves it.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So during the this whole pandemic, you didn't get out of work. You've kept working the whole time.
Yeah, I'm a caregiver I'm a nanny, which is considered a form of caregiving
Okay.
for a doctor. So the doctor has to go to work, which makes my job to watch the kid essential. Or I
Right.
mean, a lot of jobs are essential and maybe not necessarily labeled as essential, but it's just one of those things where anybody that works in the medical profession, I think their caregivers are considered crucial for them to continue to work in hospitals and clinics.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's great because like a lot of people like really got down mentally at the very beginning of this because like especially like comics because like we're such extroverts, right? And to
Yeah.
all of a sudden just be like we were out, like we'd go to work, like I don't work in the food industry, but like a lot of comics work like in the food and service industry. So they're just constantly surrounded by people, and then they go from that atmosphere into like a comedy club, and then just like all of a sudden it got shut down, and I saw a lot of people like really struggling. Like I struggled with it. Like, what was that like for you? The whole lockdown. Did you struggle at all with that?
Yeah, I really did. I think that's where I kind of like confided in exercise, because exercise makes me feel like I've accomplished something for the day, and being with people and doing comedy made me feel like I accomplished something for the day. But for a good while there, toward the beginning, I really felt like a piece of my identity had been taken away. Like going to open mics and going to comedy shows and seeing my friends and expressing how I feel is a form of therapy, and it's a form of validation, and it's a form
Oh,
of interpersonal communication. I mean, it just brought so much into my life. It made me realize how much of my life is comedy.
yeah, yeah. You brought something up interesting. Like, yeah, it is a form of validation, right? Like, because like we get the reaction from it, either good or bad, right? Like we're being acknowledged, and to have that taken away, just boom, like not even gradually, not even like, okay, this is gonna end next month, like start looking for something to do, but it just, like, I think like I did a show on the I did a show on Thursday. I did a show on a Thursday, and then I had another show coming up on Sunday, and then that show got canceled, and then that was it. And then we were both going to be on the Invisible Disability show on March the 17th, right?
At
Yeah,
the San Francisco Punchline, who could forget? Of
yeah.
course.
And I was so looking. I was looking forward to doing San Francisco Punchline. Like that's just epic, iconic. Like
Yep.
I was like, I'm not worthy of this. Like I was just like so excited. I was excited to be on the show with you. And
Aw.
yeah, and the lineup was killer. A bunch of great Bay Area comics, right?
It
And
was really amazing lineup, but it was obviously San Francisco Punchline is an iconic venue, like you said.
then it had just gotten over the whole. Are they going to close it? Are they going to keep it? Like that had just barely been put in the past.
I
Um,
think that quarantine went into effect like 2 days before our show.
yeah, yeah, it was like that. 'Cause I remember poor Allie was just like distraught, like not knowing what to do before the city shut it. I don't know if it was the city or the state shut it down, but like she was like she really wanted to do the right thing, and uh and it was a really tough time for everybody. And I'm glad that I'm sad that we did it, but I'm glad that we did stop it, because who knows what would have happened. And we're here today to have this conversation, and that's really what's important. Like we'll move on from this. When I first started, now I'm going to get back to how you kind of inspired me. Okay,
Okay, okay.
so I'm going to circle back to that now. Okay, so when I first started doing comedy, because like I've only been doing comedy for about 18 months. I started like September will be 2 years, so a little bit longer. Um, September will be 2 years. When I first started doing comedy, I didn't want to talk about I didn't want to talk about myself. Like I wanted to be like a perspective comic and like tell
Okay.
stories, but like I didn't want to address all of this.
Mm,
Um, I didn't. I was embarrassed about it, and I was timid about it, and I didn't want to talk about it. And I thought to myself, if you're really funny, Jesse, if you're really funny, you can find a way to be funny and not have to talk about yourself, right?
sure.
And then I was chugging along at it. And it wasn't great. That was so. But then I remembered like your set from Invisible Disabilities, and like how open you are about like the reason that you were on stage at Invisible Disabilities, and how freely you talked about it, and how you address it, and how you owned it. And how you turned it. And I was like, if she's brave enough to talk about this, like I could talk about it, you know, and it really helped me. And I just want to thank you for that.
Of course, that means a lot to me, because that was actually the one that you saw me at. That was my first time ever headlining.
Okay.
And it was a really exciting opportunity. I lived 3 hours away from the venue. I came out just to headline, and I just thought to myself, put it all out there. Just in case anybody who's watching this doesn't know what my invisible disability is, I have an ostomy bag, which is essentially a poop bag that goes underneath your shirt, because instead of going to the bathroom out of your butt, you go out of a tiny hole in your stomach. And that's not an easy thing to talk about, but I find that when I'm on stage, I feel like it's my responsibility and it's my platform to speak about it and to own it. And I make it look easier than it is. I do. I think that sometimes I look at old videos of myself and I'm like, wow, like who is she? Because it's so different off stage to talk about it. I am still shy, and it is something that I struggle with every day to accept about myself, that I had to go through this surgery that made me part of the disability community. But now that I am part of the disability community, how can I make it so that other people feel better about themselves and their situations? So thank you for saying that, because that particular show meant so much to me. I was a little under the weather before getting up on stage, and you guys were such a great audience that it really helped me come to life. And a lot of times it is about the audience.
Oh, thank you. That is such a great venue for that type of humor. Like it's Luna's Cafe in downtown Sacramento. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, but it's tiny, and I like a comedy club more than like an auditorium, right? Like I love tables. And I love that there's a waiter and waitress kind of weaving in and out of the crowd, and that they're having to whisper, and that you don't. I enjoy the challenge of not having everyone's full attention at the same time, because you can kind of see how, if they have to talk to the waiter, how they want to get it over with as quick as possible, and then how quickly you get their attention back, or if they like talk to the waiter and then start sifting through their purse, or like flip through their phone, you kind of don't have them, but like if they do the thing where they're like, and you see them do that, you're like, okay, this is going good. Not that you're ever cognizant to pick all of that up, but like when you're watching other people's sets, right? Like you're watching, like you're like, okay, this is a good crowd, this is a hot crowd, and I just got to keep this going,
And it was a really hot crowd. And I'm actually reading a book called Mastering Stand-Up right now.
Ooh.
And one of the things they say is a true audience, if you're doing a really good job, stops feeling whatever they're feeling and starts feeling what you're feeling. And that's kind of where the full consumption comes from. They're with you on this journey. They're not thinking about the fact that they have a deadline at work. They're thinking about whatever is coming out of your mouth, the scenarios that you were put in, your emotions. And I think that's kind of my goal, is that I'm trying to bring people along for the ride, because my life has been a ride, to put it.
You're super young too. Like you're not 30, are you? You're not.
I'm about to turn 30 in 2 months.
Yeah, you're super young, and to say that your life has been such a journey, like that's kind of exciting, and it's kind of like overwhelming, but like me, like it makes me excited, like a dad or like an uncle, to see that like you've done this much in this small window of time, but you've got nothing but time ahead of you. Like I'm excited to see what else you're gonna do.
I'm excited too. I actually just got the opportunity to work with our local Jewish Community Center, which is a nonprofit. They asked me to put together an all Jewish comedian show on Zoom.
What?
Yeah. They wrote me an email. It was super professional too. They were like, what's your budget? How are you going to, disperse it? How long are you going to do it for? So things are moving along one thing at a time. I will say, just as a heads up for any comedians who might be watching this, I asked for way too little money. I could tell by their response when they like laughed, and they were like, well, that's a generous offer. And now I have like no money to offer the comedians I want to hire. So know your worth and ask for what you think you're worth.
Yes, definitely. I'm refilling my coffee here. Are you a coffee drinker?
I am a coffee drinker. I'm totally gonna have coffee right after this.
Oh man, you know what, the best thing about uh, when all of this happened and I got sent home to work. I've been working from home this whole time. Is that now I rediscovered my French press, and
Oh,
oh my gosh, dude, like grinding fresh coffee beans every morning and waiting to get a good cup of coffee is like I broke up with my Keurig so quick.
I don't
And
even have that. I have like instant coffee. I'm kind of a new coffee drinker. I only really started getting into it like 2 months ago.
oh man, let me tell you, Carl, treat yourself to like I was super intimidated because like I'm not a big gadgets guy. I'm not super techy. Like I can, but I work in IT and I can read instructions. Like that's how I've made it this far, you know.
Okay,
But
that's great.
everyone always said like a French press is like the best cup of coffee, and I bought one a couple of years ago, and like I followed the instructions, and I was like, damn, this is super good. I'm a
Oh,
believer now. Let's get back to your Zoom show because I wanted to talk about Zoom and how um so aren't you excited that like with this Zoom show that you're going to get to do,
yeah.
you're not limited to a 3 hour drive, right? Like you could reach out to comics like in New York, Utah, like all over the United States, all over the world, right?
I technically could, but to be honest, like I'm just going to be totally candid. I asked for $100 total.
Uh-huh.
And that's just not enough money to usually get comedians from Chicago and from New York to do your show.
Okay.
Um, Especially when they find out that we're doing it for a local JCC, like you would think that's a corporate. That's you would think that that's where the money's at.
Uh-huh.
But I kind of wanted it to pad to kind of just get experience, like an internship, if you will.
Yes, yes, definitely.
But yeah, you do have the option with Zoom to have people from all over. Like I've been doing an open mic every Monday, Woodham's open mic. Have you heard of Woodham's in Santa
Yeah,
Clara?
Pete Munoz.
Yes, Pete Munoz is open mic. That's right.
Yes.
And what's cool is that he'll actually have the East Coasters go up kind of first and then have the West Coasters go up second. Like we're all mingling with each other. Shows are from all over the nation now. They can even be international. Zoom makes it possible. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I've talked to a couple of comics here in Sacramento that have done like shows like in England and like you know, like all over the world, like you said, and it's so crazy. Did you hesitate at first to jump into the whole Zoom platform, or were you an early adapter to that?
I got asked to headline a show pretty early on. Um, and I really didn't know what to do. But what I noticed is that a lot of the comedians were doing screen share, where they set up like a PowerPoint to go along with their presentation, like a comedic PowerPoint. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to go as far as to make a PowerPoint, but maybe I'll have a couple of images I can throw up. It's like the same art form that we do, but with a twist. So now we can actually incorporate more props, and we can incorporate personal pictures, and we can make a visual reference and things like that. I'm not really huge on it, but just to see what some people came up with over Zoom, I was super impressed. I was like, oh, this is not better than live comedy, but it's different.
Yeah, and it's flexing the muscle, right? Like because
Yeah.
the whole just being creative and being like thinking on the spot, right? Um, well, like for example, like with my podcast, when I've been doing this podcast for I think about a year now, but once when the quarantine started, I like because like I would invite people to my home, and
Yeah.
my podcast equipment was set up in the living room, and I would just make a whole I would make a whole morning out of it, and I'd be like, or we sometimes we would do it like after an open mic or after a show, like we kind of like have like a little after party in my living room, and I'd
Sure.
invite like 3 or 4 comics over, and I'd interview one of them, and then 2 or 3 of them would be in the living room, kind of like laughing and throwing stuff in here and there. But then like I'm too old to stay up late, so then it started turning into come over and have coffee with me, and I would invite folks over, and I'd have the whole spread, and I'd make fresh coffee, and we'd have coffee, and but when the quarantine happened, I just shut it down, And that kind of depressed me too. It was like coming home from work and seeing my podcast equipment and just like not knowing who was going to be the next guest or when. So then I got tired of looking at it because it was really depressing me. So I took it all down. But then like I just really missed having these conversations with people.
Yeah.
So I saw that a bunch of some of my friends were still going with their podcast, but they had taken it to Zoom. And I'd gotten comfortable enough with Zoom through work to like know like how to turn it on and like how to troubleshoot it. And then I think this is like my sixth or seventh Zoom podcast that I've done.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
Awesome.
like for example, like with you, like I'd wanted to sit and talk with you forever, but like you're in San Jose. And so
Yeah.
like I would just like I would constantly, not constantly, but like I would just like every once in a while I would check your schedule and see if you were gonna be like, you know, I would check your Instagram to see if you're doing a show in Sacramento. And I was waiting to see when, you know, and that
Would
was
be
like
in
the
the
same,
area.
like that was like the same way with like Ivy Cordova. Like I'd been wanting to talk to Ivy Cordova forever, but like, you know, just like whenever the schedule would permit, you know. But now we can do it this way. Like we don't even have to leave our house, and we're finally getting to have this conversation that I've been wanting to have for a long time. And I'm super excited to again have you here. What do you think the future holds for comedy once this is over? Do you think it's gonna be like like January 1st and everyone joins the gym? Do you think like when quarantine's over, you think there's like a handful of people at home right now saying, when this is all over, I'm gonna try comedy for the first time because like I don't know if I'm gonna get another chance. What do you think it's gonna be like when we get released?
I'm sure that there will be a lot of people going straight to an open mic to try their stuff because it took me like 5 years of telling myself I wanted to try an open mic before I went to one.
Really?
Yes, it took me a really long time. I was on a cruise when I was like 21, and there's a comedian there who said, "Hey, we're doing an amateurs night tonight if anybody wants to try comedy." And I wrote a set out and everything. And then I made the mistake of running it by my parents, and my parents didn't get my jokes and they didn't laugh. And they were like, "Honey, you're just not funny."
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah. And so I was like, okay, maybe you're right. And I gave up on that. And then it wasn't until my getting my ostomy bag and having my health crisis that I realized like I'm gonna try going to an open mic if it's the last thing I do.
Uh-huh.
So I waited a long time, 5 or 6 years before I decided to actually go and put myself up on stage and see what happens. And guess what? My first set went great. Not everybody's first set goes so well, but I had just been so pent up about the things I wanted to say. That's what I love about comedy. I'm just an open book,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe not everything I say is funny, but everything I say is true.
Uh, the truth will set you free, my friend.
Yes,
Uh,
indeed.
yeah, the what you said right now about like not everybody's first set goes great, but like you know, I I really think there's a local guy, Ed Mena, Eduardo Mena, Ed Mena. Not sure if you
That
know
sounds
him.
very familiar.
Yeah, he does shows like he's a hustler. He's always grinding, but he hosts. He's one of the alternating hosts for the Sacramento Comedy Spots open
Okay.
mic, right? So I was taking stand up 101, and I had done like the set in front of my classmates. Like I think I had done it 2 weeks in a row. Where like the first week, like Robert Barry was the teacher. So like the first week you just talk about comedy, and then the second week he's like, come back next week and have a minute ready to go. And so I came back the next week and I did a minute in front of like my 7 or 8 classmates and the
Mm-hmm.
instructor Robert Barry. Very safe environment, right?
Right.
And then I came back the third week and Robert Barry said, try to have 2 minutes ready to go. And I had 2 minutes. And then the third week was going to be 5 minutes. And then the fourth week was like the graduation at the Comedy Spot open mic. The third week, I had 5 minutes, but I said, I'm going to go try it at the open mic. Like class was on a Monday night and the open mic was on Sunday nights. And I was like, I've always been a teacher's pet. I've I've always thought, right? I've always wanted to be like, teacher, guess what I did, right? And I really wanted to go to class and be like, guys, I did the open mic yesterday, you know? So I went to the open mic and I had my 5 minutes ready to go. And Ed, of course, didn't recognize me because like I was new. He's like, hey, what's your name? What's going on? And he's like, are you new? And I was like, I'm new. And he's like, where do you want to go? Like he was super cool. He's like, do you want to go like early and get it over with? Do you want to go late? And like, but I was like, if I go late, I'm going to talk myself out of it. Right.
Okay.
I said, why don't you put me like second or third? And he's like, all right, that's cool. And then I said, and then this is the one thing I kind of wish I hadn't have done, but I was still so scared. I said, and can you let them know it's my first time? Like,
oh, okay.
And he's like, yeah. And he's like, sure, man, that's cool. So I went out there. I did my first 5 minutes. My knees were shaking, like shaking. Like I really thought like my knees must look like this right now. Like I didn't want to look down with my big belly, not that I could even see my knees. So I was super scared. And when I walked off the stage, like when I handed the mic back to Ed, he gave me this look like, hey, like, all right.
Yeah.
And then when I was going around the corner, I could hear him. I heard him say, and I still have it, like I have the audio on my phone. I heard him say, that was his first time, folks. Sometimes the first time sucks. Sometimes the first time is like Jesse Rivera. So give it up for him. And I was like, and I tell him all the time, I'm like, man, Ed, I know you didn't mean it, but if you'd have said, boy, that was horrible, I might not have ever done it again. You know? But because he said that was all right, like I was like, okay, I guess I should come back and try it again. You know?
I'm glad it was encouraging. I'm so glad it was encouraging. I kind of had a similar experience. I brought a lot of friends to my first open mic, so they were like totally just egging me on and laughing and clapping, and it was such a rush that I knew that I was going to come back. I never really planned on getting into comedy like seriously. It's just that I started doing open mics regularly, and then I started getting gigs, which was super exciting. And then I started putting together my own shows, and now I'm like thinking that I'm not going to go back to school. I was halfway done with nursing.
Okay.
Before I got sick and before I started comedy. And then once I discovered comedy, like I'm still not sure exactly what I want to do, but I know that it's my career.
So then where are you like in comedy? Are you like in your third year going on your fourth?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Wow. So it's been a pretty good run for you, huh?
It has. And I'm really lucky too, because I'm really scared of rejection. So I haven't done that much like applying to gigs. I really wait for whatever kind of finds me. So like, for instance, that headlining gig for Invisible Disabilities, they contacted me. They said, we were recommended you. We heard about you. Would you like to headline this show? And I'm like, what an amazing opportunity for me to do my first headlining gig. And then obviously when they asked if I would do the San Francisco Punchline, I just burst into tears. It was such an exciting offer. I just started crying. I cried because I haven't really like dove in full force, but whatever finds its way to me, I'm very humbled, and I take it and I run with it. Like this all Jewish comedy show for the Jewish Community Center, I'm going to be honest, I'm a little in over my head with such a limited budget. They also told me yesterday that the tickets in order to see the show are going to be $50, a Zoom show.
Wow.
That's a lot of money for people to be paying. But since it's a fundraiser, it makes sense. But now I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm putting together a show where people are paying $50 to see it. I better have a killer lineup. I better be an excellent host. I better really put in the work and do my homework. And a lot of times, I think most people will tell you this, like every time you get a new opportunity, you get nervous all over again. You're like, oh wait, I'm a comedian. I've done this before. I can do this.
Yeah. So you almost get that feeling that you've never done it before, right?
Yep.
Because it's a new experience, or it's something different.
That's right.
How much did hosting your own open mic help you develop?
Oh, so much. Hosting my own open mic is what led me to hosting my own showcases. It was genius because there's nobody there to give you the light. You can do like 20 minutes at the top if you have 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to know everybody, and you're in charge. And it was really my element. I'm kind of a little bit of a bossy girl.
Oh no, that's awesome. You're not bossy, you're assertive, right?
I am assertive. I am.
I've only been able to host a couple of times, like here and there. What I love most about what the opportunity that I love most about hosting is that you can think of something and instantly try it out. Oh my gosh.
Yes, you can.
And then also you could just like picking up, like being able to tell a joke about, or like to carry on a joke from the previous comic, like doing a callback. Now, what is
Yes.
that called when you call
Yes.
back to something? Yes. Like being able to call back to the previous comic. And that's been something that like I've like kind of like tried to work on myself, is like every time whether I'm doing an open mic or whether I'm doing a set, is that like I have like 30 seconds to a minute reserved in the top of my head to do a callback to the previous comic,
Yep.
to make sure that one, I'm paying attention and I'm studying the crowd, you know? So I know that like a lot of time when I first started doing open mics, like I would just be outside hanging out with the comics, and then I would go up there and like, I was like, nobody told me this crowd was hot, or like, nobody told me this crowd was cold. And like, I was like, that's like my own bad. Like I should be in here studying this thing and like know that like the comic before me did 5 minutes of crowd work. So now this crowd is like thirsty and just wants to be engaged, or like,
Yep. Yep.
like, so I don't know. Hosting is a really great way to flex your muscle and learn some new tricks, right?
I definitely agree. It's a great way for you to practice your crowd work, and it's a great way for you to relate your jokes to the previous comedian. And I think this is what we kind of don't realize. We're putting together a show, and if there's 5 comedians, that's 5 different talents. What's the thing that ties us all together? And it's the host. It's usually the host. The host is the one that's like, give it up one more time for Jesse, you know, and then makes a joke about what the set that you just did, maybe throws in a joke of their own. I like to kind of do not material in between comedians, but definitely like you want to get a laugh in between comedians. It kind of just rolls them over to the next performer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're that bridge, right? Like you got to keep
Right.
it. You got to keep it going. Like you can't, you because like they're here. Like you can't let it go all the way down here between comics, right? Like you got to keep it like right here, and then so that it's easier for them to step right back into it.
Yeah.
Totally, totally agree.
And if a comedian like really brings down the audience, then it's really the host's job to bring them back up.
Definitely. I've even heard that. I've even heard hosts say that if a comic just really kills, like to bring the audience back down, so that like so that it's fair for the next comic to like walk into like a little bit of a more calmed down room, not just like a room that's just like, oh, you know, like
Okay.
so it's kind of both, you know, that you gotta be ready to handle that crowd and hand it off to the next comic, right?
And just riffing too, like the crowd usually does want to be engaged, especially at an open mic where some of the jokes are hitting, some of the jokes are missing. I love to ask audience members questions. You have to be aware though, when you ask an audience member a question, that it's not going to have a lengthy answer. It's got to be a yes or no, or it's got to be something, you know, otherwise then the audience member starts running the show.
Yeah.
You really need to make sure to maintain control. That's a big part of being a host. It's maintaining control.
I've had that happen to me, like on a set where like I've tried crowd, because like I'm not a strong crowd worker and I'm not a strong riffer, right? But like I like made the mistake of like asking the audience member a question, and they start off with, okay, so when we were getting ready to come over here, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, no. And you know what? Pulling away the microphone and going, I didn't need all that information is fine. You know, I mean, sometimes we have to be a little harsh. Remember, whatever you need to do in order to keep the show rolling, because you can lose people pretty quick. You know, that's what I noticed by running an open mic, especially because my open mic was like 3.5 hours sometimes.
Oh wow.
It was the longest mic. I just wanted everybody to go up. You know, the venue owners sometimes would get kind of mad because it would go so late and nobody would be buying drinks after like midnight. But like I would lose some of the audience. Some people would come in, some people would leave. I'd have a comedian that was a complete amateur, maybe like walk some people. But the point is that if the host is super excited and is able to get them back on board in between comedians, then you've got yourself an open mic that people will come back for, in my opinion.
Yeah. Your open mic was like on a Sunday night, Monday night. It was like at the beginning of the
Monday night open mic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Are you hoping to be able to pick that back up once everything calms down?
Yeah, I don't know how exactly all that's going to work though. I don't think we're going to be able to have gatherings larger than like 30. I think they're going to have to be outdoors. I think we're going to have like those mic condoms that people are using now that
Yeah,
can hold the microphones. But of course I would love to pick that back up. I miss comedy like crazy. That's kind of what led me to starting to do my shows on Instagram. I don't know if you saw anything about that.
I saw a bunch of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw a handful of them. You were doing them like every afternoon at a certain like at 4:30, 3:30.
I changed it to 5:30 because I was doing them out of my car and I was like, what am I doing? I should just get home from work and then record. So I started doing them at 5:30, and it was a show just like any podcast. I would just interview comedians for about 30 minutes about what their lives are like during quarantine. But the major thing about it is it was a project that I did for 30 days in a row. So I did 30 episodes in 30 days, which was great practice for me to be an interviewer. So
Yeah, it's tough, huh?
it is.
It
It is.
is.
I commend anybody who runs a podcast, and you're kind of like the host right now. You're helping move the conversation along. You're keeping it upbeat. It's very similar to hosting in another situation.
Yeah, yeah. This whole podcast has been a learning process for me. Like just from the very beginning to like I just like Google like how do you start a podcast, and then I just started buying like microphones and equipment and trying not to buy like the most expensive things. Like I don't have a lot of money, but I also didn't want to buy like anything cheap either because like you get what you pay for in the long run, you know. So it's
Right.
this whole thing has been a learning experience, and I'm super excited about it, and I am so grateful for like the people that I've met along the way, you know. Really starting, I'm gonna go back to like Invisible Disabilities and Ali Yeda, and and I always make this mistake, man. I want to say Ali Yeda, Drew Kimsey, and Amber Whitford, the whole Invisible Disabilities team.
Yeah.
They just really embraced me with open arms, and like uh, and gave, when in the beginning when I wasn't sure that I wanted to talk about my weight and the struggles and my past addictions, like Invisible Disabilities gave me a platform for it. And it's like one thing to like it's like one thing to go and talk about this, but it makes it so much easier when I knew that those three friendly faces were going to be there encouraging me, you know, ready
It does make it so much easier to feel supported by the producers. Sure.
yeah, ready to catch me if I fall or when I fall, you know, because it's not
Yeah.
like with comedy, it's not if, it's when, you know. We've talked about like so many great experiences, but man, there's been horrible nights too, right? Like there's been so many like long drive homes where you're just like, fuck, I should have said this or I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to show you my dog. She's being camera shy. Come here, baby. Come here.
Doggy.
Okay, here she comes. There she is.
Oh my God. Hello.
Look, say hi. She's like, where? Right there.
Aww.
This is my little baby. She keeps me happy.
Aww.
This is my little chun. Oh, now she's being like, now she's okay. Okay, stop.
Now she's excited.
Yeah, now she's like, first she was being shy. She sit like, this is my office chair. This is where I work, and she'll just sit right here, and especially in the mornings when she's still being lazy. She'll just.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Gosh, I love her.
She's great. And my roommate Emily Peterson, she also has a dog. So we're a 2-dog household, and I love having 2 dogs, and I love having a roommate. And it's really been something. It's been another thing that has really helped my peace of mind here in these last couple of months is having a roommate and not being alone, man.
Yeah, and a roommate that's a comedian at that.
Yeah. So we'll sit and we have yet to disagree on something to watch. Like, she likes horror movies a little bit more than I do. Like she can probably watch a horror movie any night of the week. And like with me, I'm like, it's too early. I need an hour after a horror movie to watch something funny. But I do love horror suspenseful, but she seems to be able to do it a little bit more freely than me. But we always agree on comedy specials. Um, but man, Coral, I think we're getting close to wrapping it up here. When is your show gonna happen? Do you have a date yet for that show? Is it on your Instagram yet?
No. I haven't made a poster. I literally just got the offer 2 days ago. Why don't I promote this on the 28th? The Jewish show will be on October 17th, and that
okay, we got a ways for that.
Yeah, that we've got a ways. I still haven't even hired the talent, so I've got to think about that. But the 28th, this I think that's a Saturday. Is it a Friday? The 28th is coming up. I think it's a Friday. I'm doing the Santa Cruz Drive-In show. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of drive-in shows, but I have not heard of the Santa Cruz Drive-In show. Is there a flyer for it yet on Instagram or anything? I'll add it to
no, not yet.
Okay, so tell us about it.
Pretty much, it's at the top of a parking structure on Church Street. That's literally all it says on the poster is the top of the parking garage on Church Street in Santa Cruz. Everybody comes and parks their car in the parking lot. We have like this makeshift stage. We have a microphone, and people flash their lights at you when they think that you're being funny, and everybody stays in their cars.
That's awesome. I did see Sacramento guy who moved to LA, Stephen Fury, is on the road right now with Bert Kreischer.
Oh, okay, good for him.
And Bert Kreischer is doing a drive-in, like he's doing like drive-in theaters.
Yes, he's doing huge things. He's calling it the Summer Nights Tour.
Yeah, and he put a clip up the other night of the encore, and just like all the headlights were flashing and the horns, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful, and I think it's going to be a great time. And I'll definitely I will put it in the show info. I'll put this up on YouTube and the podcasting stream places, and I'll put some information up for you.
Thank you. Just a heads up though, it is a family friendly show. It's the first one that I've done since quarantine started. So I'm doing my clean material, which is hard for me because I'm not a clean comic.
Yeah,
not a clean comic.
I was gonna do a set in my hometown Bakersfield, and like right before I went on stage, like the manager came up and he's like, "Hey, there's still a bunch of kids here. Do you think you can go clean?" And I was like, and then like he just saw like this expression on my face, and he's like, "All right, well then, how about you let the band do a set first, and then we'll put you on later." But yeah, so you have a clean set. You're ready to go.
I'm working honestly. It's like a series of clean jokes that I'm not quite sure how to weave together yet, but yeah, I've got material. I've got stories. I'm a storyteller, so I've got like 3 stories I could do.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, I wish you luck with that. I wish you luck in everything that you do. But you're the kind of person that just like kind of does it and gets through it. And luck, if you have the luck, you have it. If not, you do it anyway. That's what I really admire about you. And
thank you.
Thanks for coming on this morning and having this conversation. And we're going to have to thank quarantine because this is what made it happen. You know, like I said, I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time, but I'm glad we were able to catch up today.
I'm super grateful, and I loved being on your podcast. And thank you for doing a podcast like this because it gives us an opportunity to chat with you as well. So it's mutual. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Coral. And I'll see you soon.
Okay. See you. Have a great Saturday.
Okay. You too. Enjoy. Bye.
Bye.